Go.
Okay, I'm in Auckland in New Zealand. We're still here for the first ever UFC event in this country, and I've grabbed Dean Amasinger, and I want to have a chat to Dean because he was in the corner of probably the most controversial, probably the worst judges' decisions in MMA history, with Ross Pearson versus Diego Sanchez. You were in the corner.
Yeah.
When I heard that decision read out, I couldn't believe it. Obviously, you were in shock, and I think Ross took it very well.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, it was a complete shock. Like, I mean, sometimes I've been, in the corner for many times. It's gone to a decision, and sometimes you're like honest with yourself, and you're I don't know, have we got this one? And you're saying to your fighter, it's close, and you're not sure about it. And there's other times when you've had a dominating performance, and there's not even a question in your mind, and you're happy, you're confident. And that was what this situation was. It wasn't even no one asked the question, do you think we've got it? It was like we knew we had. Even the other coaches. It was just like, it was almost like congratulating. Joe Silva came in. He said, well done, and everyone thought we won basically. And even Ross went over to, as he was walking round the cage, he saw John Anik and Kenny Florian, and he was like, he said like, how do you have it? And they both said 30-27. We knew that's what we were expecting basically.
As soon as I heard it was going to be a split decision, it's like, are you kidding me? It's like, well, just as long as the right decision is read out, and the judge should be shot.
Yeah.
So how that second judge scored at 30-27 when Ross rocked Diego in the second round, it was almost impossible for him to score that round. And we spoke earlier in the week, and you were an integral part of looking for the judges' scorecards, single judges' scorecards, because you're thinking that maybe, or has to mistake that he's written down the wrong score for the wrong person, but that still wasn't the case.
Well, I don't know that because that has happened before, and I've heard of cases of that happening. And so afterwards, when I was in the process of lodging a complaint, I said, can I see the individual scorecard? And they gave me the scorecard of like a summary of all three judges on one piece of paper. And I was like, no. I mean, I want the one of the guy that scored at 30-27. I want to see his scorecard, what he wrote down, and they wouldn't show it to me. And in my experience, you should show the fight. You should show that that should be. We should be able to see that, and we didn't. And they sort of brushed it under and gave us some sort of excuse. And I think that that to me that was alarm bells were ringing. Not really, I'm not speculating what happened, but they should have shown us that. That was our right to see. I thought that was the only case how he could have scored it 30-27. Because the 29-28, as much as I think that's wrong, you can almost
first round, right?
Well, first round. No, yeah. I mean, I think Ross decisively won, but I'm just saying, at 29-28, at least then you're saying, well, the first and third, there was no knockdowns, and he gave the second to Ross, great. But this guy who gave it 30-27, how he had a takedown and a knockdown. It wasn't just rocked him; he knocked him down. He's butt hit the floor. He got a takedown, held a bit of position. Yes, Diego got back up, but still, if you were asking him, okay, what in that round do you think that Diego did to win that round? What warranted Diego win that round? And I've watched it a few times now. I genuinely can't see anything there. He hit him less, he got taken down, and he got knocked down. I mean,
what I'd like to see from a fighter that genuinely believes or knows that lost the fight, especially in a press conference. It's like, I can't believe I got the decision. I'll take the win, but I didn't win that fight. But that wasn't the case with Diego. He honestly believed that he won that fight.
Exactly. No, the thing is though, it is different when you're in there. So you can't really. I don't know. Diego was in there. He was doing his fight, and I think generally you do know whether you're winning or losing.
I do believe that.
I think that's the case, and he knows it. He did say that it was ridiculous that he got given the second.
Yeah.
But he thinks the first and the third, and in his mind, I'm coming forward, and he's. It is different from a fighter. A fighter will often come back to the corner and be like, did I win that or whatever? And I'm not faulting. None of this is to do with Diego. It's just that's how he saw it.
Well, I'm glad common sense prevailed in some sense that Ross got his bonus.
Yeah.
The UFC are treating it as a win.
Yeah.
But there's also an upside because a lot of people are again calling it the worst judge decision in MMA history, which is also shining a light onto Ross. So because if it went the way it should have, I don't think that too many people would have been talking about it. So no point having a rematch. Just moves on to what he wants to do next.
I think it's almost like in the silver line in every situation. I genuinely think this was better than if he had just won the fight, because if the scores had gone how it would. It was a pretty good performance by Ross. He looked dominant. He looked possibly the best he's looked so far. It was decisive, and that would have been it. And then on to the next one. For this one, I know a lot of people would have watched it because they heard about the reaction. They might not have watched the fight and then heard, it's the worst. They're like, let's check it out. And then so he's getting the win, he's getting the notoriety, the media exposure, and then not the actual win, sorry, the win bonus, but they're being treated as a win. So his next fight now is going to be high profile, moving into that top 10, which is what we're aiming for anyway. And it's all round, it's worked out.
He's on a bit of a roll now as well.
Exactly.
How long have you been with Ross Pearson now?
Well, since the beginning, really. Yeah. So we were
because you're a fighter yourself.
I was.
You're retired now.
Yeah.
You miss it at all in the cage?
Yeah. I mean, there's parts of me that miss it. But then when I see how hard some of the athletes that fighters that I work with, I just don't have that. That's part. I made that choice. I was towards the end of my career cutting corners, and it's got to be the most important thing in your life. And I was being pulled other places and things I'm doing like I'm doing now, and unless you're committed 100% to fighting, there's no point doing it. So but I mean, with Ross and I, we were teammates with the Rough House prior to being on the Ultimate Fighter. And so we were training together there, and then we both got onto the Ultimate Fighter Series 9, the one that Ross won, and we obviously worked together then. We didn't actually work together for that finale because he was fighting another teammate, and I kept out of both of that, and then subsequently every UFC fight we've been working together since.
Got to ask you something, Dean. Have you ever misplaced any training books or notes since the smashes?
No, I've kept it. I took my playbook. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of sort of.
Got a lot of stick for that.
Yeah, a lot of stick for that. And it was all. I mean, it was just George being a bit of an idiot, to be honest. But it was just it was one of those things, and they were trying to sort of gain a competitive edge potentially by they literally had it for 10 minutes on the show. They edited it in a way to make it add up to be a big thing. Obviously, it was a confrontation between us, but they had it. We finished training. I'd left it in the room. We walked out. We were getting changed, and I realised I didn't have it in my bag. So it was literally that long. They wouldn't have got anything from it, and plus, my handwriting's so terrible.
I noticed that as well.
So they there's no way that he would have got anything out of it.
I enjoy watching, all of the smashes, and of course Richard Bass is on this card as well.
I'm helping him with his weight cut actually.
Oh, great! He hasn't got too much to go.
No, he's well on track.
But out of all those guys on the show, which fighters for Australia and England sort of stood out for you?
I think Richie stood out. I think I said to him at the end of this is why we're working together actually now. I said to him at the end that I think. I knew he was
cut down
weight. He was never a 155 even coming into it. I don't think he might have had one, but really he was like I say a 145er. And then by looking, I hadn't done any tests, but by looking at him, I said you're at least a 135er, and I think you could make 125. And he gave everyone in every fight he was in, he put in good performance and was competitive. And from talking to the other guys on the the Aussie team, they said that he was an absolute beast. And at 125, I think he can do some really good things. So he definitely stood out. Rob Whittaker, he's a real talented guy.
He was a standout, wasn't he?
He was. And then from the UK side, we had good guys all round, but Brad Scott is someone that I still work with, and he's a really talented guy.
His last fight, really irritated me because he should have dominated that guy. And what happened, he dominated the second round, but there was parts in the first and the third that he won. But as soon as his opponent got him on the ground, he couldn't get up, and his opponent sort of lied on him a fair bit. He didn't do much damage, but he took the decision by having on top.
Yeah, control. I mean, Claudio's a great fighter and a BJJ black belt, and you've got to be. You can't. If you're too reckless in those times, you can get caught with stuff trying to get back up. But I think, there was lessons to be learned. There were lots of positives in that fight, and I think maybe Brad could have finished him if he had just stepped up that little bit, that gear. a little bit more maybe. But yeah, it was a little bit frustrating.
Yeah,
but
that's what I thought, because again, I follow these guys from the Smashers now. Another very likeable guy that wish I could have got another chance in the UFC was Colin the Freak Show Fletcher.
Yeah.
It's like the first time I saw him, it's like, as the show went on, it's like, wow, this guy's just genuine. He's the nicest guy.
He's a wicked guy, really good, like heart of gold, and he's a testament to not judging a book by its cover, because by looking at it you think he's an absolute nutter, but he is a nutter, but in the most positive,
I know exactly.
He's a really,
on Facebook every day.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. And he's actually fighting Andre Winner.
Oh yeah, he's former Ultimate Fighter.
And Raphael's teammate.
Yeah.
So I don't know when that is. I think it's sometime in August or something. So he's fighting.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, he had a tough run in the UFC, and he's a real talented guy, but just didn't go his way a couple of times. Just one of those things.
It's on the Gold Coast for Ross's fight with George, after watching the whole series. And 99% of the time when fighters are going back and forward and it seems to be bad blood, after the fight it's like, well done, instead of patting the back. Now, nothing like that with George and Ross, and it's like, wow, it was obviously that.
No, that was legit.
Was like,
that was legit. That was,
I learned that after he stopped George and just walked away. He was happy. It was like, wow, that's real.
I think that a lot of times when you see rivalries and whatnot, it's more down to the competitive nature of the fight and the promotion, and they a little bit of heat, whatever. But we had fights outside of.
I was going to ask you about that, because there was rumours about, and I was going to ask you whether it was you, but there was a rumour that it was someone that actually hit George outside the show, or
I'm not necessarily going to go into the details of all of that, but it was it was unbelievably. Tense and competitive on set, and there was a few incidents that we had over that. There was what you saw on the show plus time that tenfold.
Could have made another show outside the show.
Obviously, that's detracting from what the show was about. And to be honest, on reflection, when I left the show and thought about it afterwards, I was a bit like, I don't know why I let that get to me so much. But in the sort of
heat of the moment,
and it was so competitive, and it was like England against Australia, and it just I don't know, so it all brought maybe the worst out of us. But that was some genuine sort of hate. I don't know about maybe hatred's a bit strong, but dislike, and it's the only time I've known Ross to be like that.
I know. I've seen him before and after his fight. I followed his career since he's a fighter, so and a genuinely nice guy as well. But again, a lot of nice guys and good fighters coming out of that show. I hope that they continue on with their career at some point. There's another local guy.
Norman Park is fighting in Dublin. I think that should be.
He's undefeated since the show as well. He's top prospect.
Definitely. Like he's really got a well-rounded MMA game. He's got everything. Got great submissions, good wrestling, really good wrestling, and he's based from that judo background. It's incredible. Like he's got really powerful hips, and his striking's really good as well. So he's got a complete game. He's training out an alliance with Coach Eric Del Fiero. Actually does a lot of his camps out there, and he's always getting better from what I hear and what I see actually in his fights. So looking forward to that fight.
Some of the guys from the Smashers just need to keep at it. Like again, we've got a local guy named in Perth, West Australia, called Xavier X-Man Lucas. Nicest guy, but he's just got to get back down to training and get back at it as well. Now, getting back on Ross, one of the fights I was really looking forward to of his that ended prematurely because of a cut that happened illegally was a Melbourne Gallardo fight. I was sort of looking forward to a rematch of that. Injuries stopped that, but then Melvin looked horrible in his last fight. I think Ross has sort of gone past him now, and I don't know whether that fight's going to happen again.
Well, Melvin's now been dropped.
Oh, has he? I didn't know that.
He got dropped after
that fight because he looked horrible.
Yeah, but from what I heard, he was ill for that fight.
It's a bit rough.
It is, but it's just the way things go. I
don't think he'd be dropped for it. I thought he would have got given another chance, but I didn't know whether it'd be against Ross or not.
No, especially after this past fight, that wouldn't be a fight that would be interesting. No, although that ended, Melvin's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of standings and rankings and whatnot, that wouldn't be sort of that appealing. Although
it needs to move forward.
And although the ending of that was frustrating and it wasn't really resolved, it was a non-fight. By what happened, but it's one of those things, and you can't be looking back all the time and trying to push forward.
So I only learned today that you're helping Richie Bass as well, but you're also in the corner of James Tahuna. So I was playing the main event of this New Zealand card fascinating because you've got James Tafuna coming down in weight, first time to fight at middleweight. You've got Nate Marquardt coming up from weight to go back to middleweight.
Yeah.
So how's the weight cut? Because James Tafuna has always been described as a big heavyweight.
Yeah.
I learned from you and Ross that he normally walks around the weight, doesn't normally have
Yeah,
to cut
man.
too much
So,
weight.
I've known Jamie for a few years now and helped him a little bit with like rehydration for his past fights, but because I haven't needed to help him with the cut, because he's basically cut maybe a few pounds on weighing day, and although he looks like a big light heavyweight, it's just because he's so ripped. He wasn't massive. He was a small light heavyweight. And he's not relatively. He's not even a massive middleweight. He's a big middleweight, I'd say now.
Well, he towered over. I watched the face-off today.
Yeah, well, Marco small.
Yeah.
Today Marco was looking like a 170. If you compare Marco today to Rob Whittaker, they look comparable in size, didn't they? If you think about it, and it doesn't look like Marco's come back up to middleweight. It seems like he's just where he is, and that's what he's chosen to do. Didn't really want to have a cut, and that's his choice. But Jamie's cut's gone really well, and he's been a consummate professional. Just had to tighten up his diet a little bit, and I've been here for a week now, finalising the last bits and pieces and getting it down as healthily and happily as possible. And then come fight day, he'll be basically the same what he was when he was fighting a light heavyweight.
Fantastic. Well, Dean, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you. Thanks again for your time, and looking forward to Saturday night. It's going to be a great event, first a bit of history, first in New Zealand, and looking forward to chatting again soon.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate.